It's fall 2016 in Jerusalem. I sit in a small kiosk on Jaffa Road. Jaffa Road is named thusly because it is the same ancient road that the Jewish pilgrims and travelers would take from the coastal city of Jaffa to arrive in Jerusalem to visit the Holy Temple. Only now, Jaffa Road is traversed by a new modern light rail system, carrying the children, descendants of those same Jews who once walked here. It's Monday morning, just 2 weeks after the shameful vote by the PA and UNESCO, stating that the Jewish people have no connection to the Temple Mount. I find no more auspicious times than the present to increase awareness of the eternal Jewish connection to Israel and the Temple Mount by revealing intriguing information concerning the whereabouts of the much sought after temple vessels. Now we're actually walking to the place where according to my theory, where these temple vessels were actually hidden, according to the story that's on page 95 of the book here, the ARK Report. And it's very exciting, and it's easy to imagine in a way the way this was 100 years ago. This actual road, it's a dirt road with camels, etc. Another one in 1930 with carriages. And so you see the landmarks back then, the way it really was. And how even today, 80 years later or so, or even more, you see that some of these landmarks still exist, going all the way back to the Ottoman Empire, and the cemeteries, etc., that were back then that actually acted as landmarks and coordinates, as it were, for me to figure out exactly where this cave, this farmer's cave, this farmer's field was, with the cave underneath. Okay, here we are at the site. Really, it's a site that's hidden in plain sight, put it that way. Everybody walks here, they don't know what they're walking over. This is the place where the farmer's field was, and the pit is here underneath, about 4 meters. And we're about to see it. Come, let's go. So for 100 years, nobody has built over this site. This park. Normally parks in Jerusalem have things for the kids, you know, there's a swing set, and there's things in the trees, etc. Underneath this area, this 20 meters, was a cave that holds many, many valuable artifacts, holy artifacts from the Second Temple period. And on this beautiful Jerusalem day, you can see this park that people walk through all the time, and they have no clue what they're walking over. It might be right here, the farmer's cave, 3 to 4 meters down, and no one would know it. But when the time comes, this is certainly where people should start, and that's why I'm doing this video, this testimony, as it were, to bring a starting place, according to my theory, the Moskoff theory, as to where these precious treasures, temple treasures, are really buried. Okay, so here we are. We're on Mount Zion. We're going up Mount Zion, approaching the next spot where we have treasures, temple treasures, according to first-hand accounts and other written testimonies I have in my book, where there's buried, treasure was hidden, and this time it went all the way to North Africa and then back with Justinian. It was buried in this church underneath, in the cellar of this church, that we're going to go to now in the Muslim Quarter. Alright, so here we are in the Old City, booming, bustling Old City, November 1st, 2016. We've come here to the second site, very close to the Muslim Quarter, just down the stairs over here. And as usual, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. It's a great day, beautiful day. One of the things that I wanted to mention is that in the UN, what's happening now, I think it's a very auspicious moment for me to come out with this video as sort of like a testimony as to the theory, the findings that I've come across over the past couple of years. One of the articles that I wrote for the Jerusalem Post recently has to do with the whole UNESCO vote, which is really centering around the denying the rights of the Jewish people to Jerusalem and the Temple Mount in particular. One of the things one of the people that I worked with in my law office years ago was someone who wrote a treatise on that exact topic, the Jewish claim to Jerusalem, and it's literally 1,000 pages. I had it in my office. It's called "The Legal Foundation and Borders of Israel Under International Law," by the late Howard Grief, who's a Jerusalem advocate. Anyway, he published beyond a doubt that the UN was prohibited by Article 80 of its own charter from partitioning Palestine into two states, one Jewish and one Palestinian. Therefore, all actions taken by the UN regarding alleged Israeli irregularities concerning the so-called West Bank are illegal without force. One of the things that I've done with my movies and this whole ARK Report project, the book, etc., is proving that we as Israelis, as Jews, not just here in Israel but all over the world, we have not just the regular, what we see as a claim to Jerusalem in terms of heritage sites like the tomb of Rachel's tomb, the cave of the patriarchs, which is in Hebron, and right here, of course, the Temple Mount. There are many things below the ground that the Jewish people has, that we have, and this is very good timing to actually reveal some of those things to increase our claim, sovereignty over Jerusalem and the region. In fact, this coming year is the 50th year anniversary of the reunification of Jerusalem since the Six-Day War. That was 50 years ago, our miraculous victory during that, in 1967, during that war. Now that was a defensive war, so I don't see how people can say we're occupying those territories. One thing that we do have is that we have many cards to play. Cards that people don't know about, more resources than people know, and one of them are these treasures, this huge heritage that the Jewish people has, that we have going back many thousands of years. As we walk through the Arab quarter over here, the Muslim quarter, we see that, I'll tell you actually a little bit about the story. We see everything they're selling here, of course, for any hundreds of years this shuk has been in operation. But the story behind where we're going is in 455 AD, when Rome was sacked by the Vandals. So they took everything that they could see, obviously. One of the things were the priceless gold vessels that were being displayed in the temple of, called the Temple of Rome, Temple of Peace. So over there, they took all those invaluable items over to their headquarters in North Africa with ships to Carthage. That was the headquarters, and they had them there for 80 years. To make a long story short, what happened was Justinian, being a religious Christian, eventually captured Carthage. The treasures of the temple were carried from North Africa, from Carthage, over to Constantinople, and then from there over to here, over to what used to be the Nia Church. And this is where they are till today, rebuilt as what we see today in 1898, to this place. And there's a cellar below. According to first-hand accounts, there's a locked door, and that is exactly in there where these treasures lie today, in this vicinity. down here, in many of these churches in this area, you'll see it's like there's still the original rock formations. It's almost like a cave in many areas, many underground cellars, even signs of Roman, going all the way back to 2,000 years to the Romans. So there are certainly places where these treasures would have been buried and brought here. And we'll show you a couple. Okay, so yeah. Oh, okay. Ah. Oh, there's a lot of hats.
Yes.
Okay.
Come out, please. Hello.
What we're coming to now is the Western Wall tunnels. A part that was excavated since 1967 and 1992. Up until now, actually, they're still excavating, they're still broadening the whole area. And we come to the original rocks that form the compound of the Second Temple itself. This particular stone is 570 tons, metric tons, absolutely huge. We don't know to this day how it actually got here. It must have been a miraculous type of procedure, because even with today's technology it would be difficult. According to my theory, the Moskoff theory, the Dome of the Rock is not the place where the temples are, as I write here in my book. I don't know if you can focus in on that, zoom, the ARK Report, which is, by the way, available on Amazon. This is the special expanded edition. What I write there is that here, in this place, a little bit to the southwest of the Dome of the Rock, is really where the temples actually stood. And without pointing out the exact location of the Holy of Holies, we do know that about 2 years ago there were tests done by the University of Calgary and Nebraska that showed that beyond this wall, beyond these stones, actually exist a 35-meter open space, which they're calling a storage area, but it's underground. The Ark itself, the Ark of the Covenant, would be about another 5 to 8 meters below. Oh yeah? Oh, interesting. They're calling me over. They need apparently a minion, which is to go to prayer. I'll be there in 2 seconds. In the meantime, what we have over here is something very special. This rock was put there, according to the theory that I write in my book, to protect. It's not just for anything. That this massive rock was put here specifically. It was put here to protect an area that's on the other side. And the Ark is further underground, directly beneath what would have been the Holy of Holies. And that's what I'm here. That's really what I write about here with the ARK Report, how it got here in the first place, why it was put here before the destruction of the first temple 2,700 years ago. Alrighty, what we have here is Warren's Gate. Very, very special place. This is a place that was actually dug up in the '67 war, after the Six-Day War. Now it's going to be 50 years. Entrance gate to the Temple Mount. Warren's Gate, very special place where all the Jews used to gather and daven. And still there's a synagogue here, right across from the Dome of the Rock. Here is where Rabbi Getz and Rabbi Goren actually dug through this wall in 1981, and then again 1992. There were people that came in here and they saw there was a big cistern on one of the entrances to the Temple Mount, and then there were some corridors over here to the southwest, some tunnels, 4 or 5 tunnels that actually lead to some of the vessels, and the Ark of the Covenant being 5 to 8 meters down from here. Very exciting point to start that leads into the tunnel areas. And there are some other tunnel areas that maybe that we could go through that lead to the Ark of the Covenant as well, to that chamber directly below the Holy of Holies, which is just to the southwest of this point. So this is one of the great places that we should see in our own lifetime. I hope the return where all these vessels that we went through today, whether it's the temple treasures of the Second Temple, the Herodian Temple, or King Solomon's Temple, should be back in the rightful place, And I hope this project, ARK Report, that's what it's designed for, to inspire people to actually go for it at the right time, and in the merit of Elijah the Prophet, Eliyahu Navi, and others will be able to go into that era very soon and have the full redemption in the third temple with the Ark right over here.